After the first mock college entrance exam, I decided to drop out and not take the actual test. My teachers couldn't understand why a promising candidate like me, who had the potential to be a top scorer in the college entrance exam, would give up such a bright future. They all came to persuade me one after another. Even my mom, who was battling cancer, threatened to stop treatment, but I still wouldn't budge. In my past life, I took the college entrance exam with everyone else only to become the first person ever caught cheating on it. I felt wronged and refused to admit cheating when the inspection team released their investigation report. My college entrance exam answers were identical to those of the campus beauty Tun-Jen, but she turned in her paper nearly 30 minutes before me. I don't know what's going on, so I can only share my past achievements and awards to prove I didn't copy anyone's answers. But the online mob wouldn't listen to a word of my explanation. They said I had undermined the fairness of the college entrance exam and deserved to die for it. Years of relentless abuse left me with a severe mental disorder. The news devastated my mother, and she passed away not long after my father ran himself rig for my sake, filing appeal after appeal until he was killed in a car accident the day Tun-Jen graduated with her master's from Tsinghua and Peking University. I finally reached my breaking point and swallowed an entire bottle of sleeping pills. The next time I opened my eyes, I was back on the day of my first mock exam in senior year 31. What are you daydreaming for? The exam started 20 minutes ago. Hurry up and focus on your paper. The invigilator rapped on my desk. I shuddered, and the pen in my hand clouded to the floor as I stared at the exam rules on the blackboard, and the classmates around me scribbling furiously. It finally hit me. I had been reborn. Don't get complacent just because your grades are good. This mock exam is the best way to truly gauge your own level. The proctor picked up the pen, placed it on the exam paper, and returned to the podium. I stared at the Chinese language test paper in front of me, completely at a loss for where to begin. Tom Seen in the front row glanced back at me, and in that split second our eyes met. I cut the challenge in hers, if I remember correctly. Tom Seen really started shining bright from the first mock exam. My grades, which had always hovered around the middle, suddenly shot up to second in my ear, just 1 point behind me. The top scorer, thinking back to our identical answers on the college entrance exam in our past life, perhaps from that very moment. It was all a trap set for me. At that thought, I raised my hand. "Teacher, I'm finished. I'd like to hand in my paper." Another proctor walked over, glanced at my exam paper, and his expression immediately darkened. "You didn't even write the essay or fill in the answer sheet. What are you turning in?" The teacher's voice was soft, yet it captured the attention of the entire examination hall. "Don't forget, your direct admission spot isn't confirmed yet. You still have to take the college entrance exam." "I'm not taking the college entrance exam." "What did you say?" "In my past life, it was precisely because I took that exam that I became the first person ever caught cheating on the GAO. Not only was my college entrance exam score invalidated, but I was also banned from taking it for life, just as I was repeatedly appealing to higher authorities, hoping public attention would bring me justice. The exam supervision group released their investigation report. My exam paper had identical answers to that of the internet-famous campus belle Dunning. Yet, she had handed in her paper nearly 30 minutes before I did. I couldn't believe it, so I had to post my usual grades and various awards to clear my name. But the netizens wouldn't even look. I've seen cyberbullying, but I've never seen someone cyberbully themselves. If she dares to cheat on the gallows, who knows what she'll do in society later. She should get 3 to 5 years to learn her lesson. Someone who cheats on the college entrance exam has no integrity left. Who knows how they got their previous grades? They might have cheated all along. As this year's examinees, we have nothing to apologize for. Those who undermine the fairness of the GAO deserve nothing less than a gruesome death. My hatred can't be quenched either way. You'd better wise up and just end it yourself. Just when the online backlash was at its peak, my secret boyfriend of 1 year, child star Jang Chin, went live with Tun-Jin. In the video, they not only went public with their relationship, but also flat out accused me of cheating on the college entrance exam. In his telling, I was painted as a delinquent girl with no interest in study, someone who could never have become the top scholar. They called on universities across the country to blacklist me. demanding that my relatives within 3 generations be barred from taking the college entrance exam. Even the principal and teachers who came forward to testify on my behalf were accused by them of taking bribes and giving false testimony openly. I was actually planning to retake the college entrance exam, aiming to top the charts again in 3 years and shut them up for good. But after that live stream, I became a household name every year during the college entrance exam. I get dragged out as a cautionary tale to warn others. 3 years later, I became a pariah, shunned by everyone. No school would accept me, and even when I tried to find work, I was chased out the door. Years of relentless verbal abuse have left me with a severe mental disorder. My parents exhausted themselves, tirelessly appealing on my behalf only to meet their tragic end together in a car accident. The day Tun graduated with her master's from Tsinghua and Peking, I couldn't take it anymore and swallowed an entire bottle of sleeping pills. I'll go to my grave not understanding why my test paper was identical to Tom's scene, since fate has given me a second chance. I'm going to get to the bottom of this too. I'm not taking the college entrance exam anymore. May I hand in my paper? My voice was calm and steady as ever, but a wave of murmurs rippled through the exam hall. Didn't her homeroom teacher say me was going to be this year's top scorer? Why did she suddenly say she's not taking the exam? What's the use of being such a good student if you've got such a weak mindset? I think she's just a flake. Never really saw her putting in much effort anyway. The murmur of voices continued until the invigilator's sharp command restored silence to the examination hall. Michelle, do you think the college entrance exam is some kind of game that you can just decide to skip on a whim? She forced me back into my seat, pointing at the clock on the blackboard. 1 hour left. You will sit here until you hand in that paper, even if it kills you. In the front row, Tomini chewed on her pen, lost in deep thought. With her sweet and adorable looks, her mother set up a social media account for her from birth, now boasting over 10 million followers. She's practically grown up in the public eye and is widely regarded as the nation's sweetheart. Ever since Jiang Qin starred in a short video with her, many fans have started shipping them as a couple. I've thrown my fair share of tantrums with him over jealousy. Jiang Qin, however, claimed that their relationship was just a publicity stunt, and that having more fans would only benefit his future acting career. To calm me down, he promised to make our relationship public once he graduated. But in the end, all I got was betrayal. I bit my lip and didn't let go until I tasted the metallic tang of blood. Thompson seemed to have noticed my unusual behavior and kept turning around to look at me. It wasn't until the invigilator walked over and tapped on her desk that she finally stopped. In our previous life, we were assigned to the same exam hall for the college entrance test, but there was one person sitting between us. The Gallo is the most rigorous exam with 2 invigilators per classroom, surveillance cameras inside the exam hall, and patrol officers outside. How did she manage to copy from my test paper? Sure, here's the translation. If it were just multiple choice questions, that would be one thing. But how could they copy the Chinese and English essays word for word? My gaze drifted back to the exam paper on the desk. Maybe it was time to try a different approach. The moment the exam bell rang, I finished the final word of my essay. Seeing that I had completed my entire exam paper, the invigilator finally stopped making any further comments for the subsequent exams. I was even more focused and gave it my all. The results of the mock exams will be released in 2 days. I couldn't care less about my own score, but Thompson's results were constantly on my mind. Before the results came out, the homeroom teacher called me into the office. She slammed a stack of papers on the desk, her tone sharp. You really are my star pupil. Intentionally scoring 0. Michelle, are you showing off your skills? Yeah. I filled up the entire exam paper, but everything was wrong to perfectly dodge every correct answer and control your score with such precision. Truly worthy of the top scholar I saw in you. The homeroom teacher was a veteran educator with many years of teaching experience. She always held me in the highest regard, constantly saying things like, if you become the top scorer in the Gao, I could die without regrets. Remembering how in my past life she had been so worried about me that it triggered a heart attack. My nose tingled with emotion, and I quickly lowered my head when I remained silent. The homeroom teacher finally softened her tone. Mishu, can you tell me why you did this? I clenched my fists, my eyes fixed intently on the test paper on the desk. After a long pause, I heard my own voice ask, "Teacher, could you first tell me what score got?" The homeroom teacher was a bit surprised, but she told me anyway. Scene got a perfect score. All 6 subjects. Perfect scores across the board. 3. A perfect score. What on earth is going on? The homeroom teacher's words hit me like a sledgehammer, shattering all the courage I had mustered since my rebirth. Didn't Thompson copy my test paper? No, that's impossible. I ignored my homeroom teacher's objections and quickly started flipping through a stack of papers. When I saw Thompson's exam paper, I almost couldn't stand. Thompson's calculation process was exactly the same as the one I had deliberately messed up. Even the symbols I marked under the questions while thinking were exactly the same. Yet her final answer was correct. How on earth did Tunjin know the correct answer? Toman has really improved a lot lately. Heard her mom spent a pretty penny on tutoring for her. My homeroom teacher thought I was upset and kept trying to comfort me. My mind went completely blank, and I have no recollection of what the homeroom teacher said afterward. All I remember was that by the time I got back to class, the news about Tomini scoring a perfect mark on her mock exam had already spread across the entire school. In class, Thompson shyly linked her arm with Jang Chen-sin. "It's not enough that you're so beautiful, but you have to be this brilliant at your studies, too." I'm absolutely green with envy seeing me walking. Tom's sidekick shot me a disdainful glance. Exactly. Our seen earned first place through her own hard work, unlike some people who boasted about being top scorer before the exam even started, only to get a big fat 0 on the mock test. What a joke. The class bell rang. Ignoring their sarcastic remarks, I walked past them and returned to my seat. This period was math class. As soon as the teacher entered the classroom, I raised my hand. I heard Thompson got a perfect score. Why don't we have her walk us through the exam paper? The teacher showed great interest in my suggestion. When he asked Tom for her opinion, she didn't rush to respond. Instead, she turned her gaze toward Jang Chin, who was standing behind me. "Michelle, are you done causing trouble? Even if you're jealous that Scene got a perfect score, you shouldn't be disrupting class." Jang Chin was flustered and fiercely defending Tunjin. In that instant, it dawned on me. He must know something. I smiled slightly and looked down. The teacher's analysis leans more towards pedagogy, but the student's thought process is easier for us to grasp. What? Thompson got a perfect score, but can't explain her reasoning. Does that mean she cheated and actually doesn't understand the material at all? Tom shot up from her seat when she heard me say that. Since Michelle wants to hear my thoughts, I'll share them with everyone. She gave Junction a reassuring glance, then calmly stepped up to the podium and began explaining. From the first question, I bit my nails, growing more alarmed the more I listened. Her approach to solving the problem was exactly the same as mine, especially for the last major problem. It should be solved using a groupable sequence based on current high school knowledge. But since I taught myself advanced math in a past life, I'm using classical probability theory for the calculations. Katon have also studied college-level material ahead of time. Just like me, the bell rang for the end of class, and the students erupted into applause, leaving the math teacher beaming with delight. I walked to the rooftop in a daze and burst into tears. "How dare you cry?" I turned around and saw it was Jang Chen. "Were you trying to embarrass Scene in class just now? Michelle, how could you be so cruel? I really regret being with you." I wiped the tears from my face and let out a self-mocking smile. "If you regret it, then let's just break up. I'm completely fed up with him and don't want to get involved anymore." "What are you making a fuss about now? How many times do I have to say it? Scene and I are just a publicity couple. Why can't you understand that? If you go back now and apologize to Scene in front of the whole class, I'll consider not breaking up with you." Jang Chan, I'm dead serious. I'm not taking the Gao. I'm dropping out of school tomorrow. Jang was taken aback at first, then burst into uncontrollable laughter as if he had just heard the funniest joke. "Didn't you say you wanted to top the exams and use the prize money for your mom's medical treatment? If you don't take the college entrance exam, what's your mom supposed to do? Relying on your dad slaving away in a factory. By then, the yellow flowers will have long gone cold." I gave a nonchalant laugh. Jiang Qin has no idea that I'm a genuine second-generation factory kid. My dad did spend over a decade working on an assembly line, but he caught the wave of southern China's economic boom. After making his first fortune, he used that money to start his own factory, and my family currently does contract manufacturing for major brands. And my dad's net worth is at least 100 million. I can always go back and take over the family business if I don't take the college entrance exam. Besides, I want to see if without me taking the gallo, Dawn can still become the top scorer like she did in my past life. For I went to see my homeroom teacher and told her I wouldn't be taking the college entrance exam. She was utterly bewildered. I know about your family situation. If the pressure is too much, I can help you. She took a bank card out of her bag and placed it on the desk. There's 50,000 yuan in here. Consider it a loan from your teacher. You can pay me back slowly once you get into university and start working. I shook my head. My family isn't short on money. Not taking the college entrance exam is my way of saving myself. My homeroom teacher spent the entire class period trying to persuade me, but I gritted my teeth and refused to budge. She sighed. If you decide to repeat your final year, contact me right away. I forced a smile that looked worse than a grimace. I don't think I'm up to giving the speech at the college entrance exam pep rally. Perhaps you should? No need. I read your draft. It's very well written. It's too late to find a replacement now. Consider this speech your farewell to high school. Seeing me still rooted to the spot, the homeroom teacher gave me a gentle push. Go on. The students are probably already gathered in the auditorium. I arrived at the auditorium just as the principal finished his speech, and it happened to be my turn to speak on behalf of all the senior students. I took the microphone and pulled out the speech I had prepared in advance. After a rousing speech, a smattering of applause rippled through the audience. I'm sorry I won't be continuing this journey with all of you. I've decided not to take the college entrance exam this year. Wishing you all the best of luck and bright futures ahead. No sooner had I finished speaking than Tom suddenly rushed onto the stage. Missu, who gave you the right to skip the gallo? Out of over 200 students in the school, you're the only one running away. How can you even face people? A tear rolled down from the corner of her eye, and she looked utterly wronged. We were classmates once. I can't just watch you ruin your life. I know your mother is sick. I can help pay for her treatment. Just promise me you'll take the college entrance exam, and I'll even leave a few questions blank so you can take the top spot. A murmur of discussion rippled through the audience. Yeah, the college entrance exam is just around the corner, and now you're saying you're not taking it. What's the point of over a decade of hard study, then expecting her to be the top scorer in the gallo is like hoping for a miracle. The homeroom teacher has been so good to her, and she just decides not to take the exam. It really breaks my heart for the teacher. We'd be better off giving those resources to Scene. She's worth 10 of that ungrateful wretch. Scene is both beautiful and kind-hearted. She clearly has what it takes to be the top scorer. If Ms. Hua doesn't agree soon, she's just being downright ungrateful. I forcibly pried her hand off my arm. I don't need any help, and I'm not in any trouble. In a few days, I'll be starting work at the factory. I'll wish you luck in advance. May you achieve your goal and take the top prize. With that, I picked up my backpack from the floor and strode out of the auditorium, ignoring the principal's attempts to stop me. The family car was already waiting for me at the school gate. Uncle Sue, the driver, opened the car door for me himself. Mississippi, he said. Mr. Me. And Madam's flight has been delayed. We have plenty of time to get to the airport. I rushed to the airport with a bouquet of flowers, my heart filled with anxiety. 2 weeks ago, my father accompanied my mother to the capital for a specialist consultation. I had no idea how her condition was now. The arrival flight numbers were being announced over the PA system, and soon after, I saw my parents walk out holding hands. My dad happily took the flowers from me, just as I was about to throw myself into my mom's arms to ask about her health. She pushed me away with a firm hand. The moment I got off the plane, I got a call from your classmate, Tunjin. She said, "You're refusing to take the college entrance exam and want to go work on an assembly line instead. What on earth is going on?" I pressed my lips together, and tears instantly welled up in my eyes. My mom flustered a bit. "Look at you, getting all upset over one little comment. Fine, Don't join if you don't want to. I won't ask again. Hearing her gentle, soothing words of comfort only made my tears fall harder. Shaswa stays up until 1 or 2 in the morning doing her homework every night. It breaks my heart to see it. She's my Mashang's daughter. Even if she couldn't read a single word, who would dare look down on her? Seeing that I couldn't hold back a laugh, my dad finally let out a sigh of relief on our way home. Dad brought up Mom's condition. My mom has thyroid cancer, which is the type with the highest cure rate. Surgical resection is associated with higher survival rates. What's more, my mom caught it early, and with active treatment, it won't affect her life going forward. Back home, we shared our first reunion meal together after rebirth. After we had eaten and drunk our fill, my mother cautiously began to speak. Sure, did someone at school bully you? Tell Mommy. I'll go teach them a lesson for you. I studied myself and laid it all out, everything from 2 lifetimes. My mother held me tight, her tears flowing endlessly. My dear, you've been through so much, she sobbed. My father flung his cigarette down fiercely. Those bastards. I was playing dirty tricks before they were even born. How dare they lay a finger on my daughter? I'll make them pay. Sweetheart, you've worked so hard studying for your exams these past few months. No, take it easy and relax for the rest of the time. Leave this matter to your old man to investigate. 5. After the whole family discussed it, I went to school to withdraw from enrollment. Just stepping out of the principal's office, I happened to run into Jiang Qin. Shurao Shua. I passed the interview at the film academy. There are gorgeous girls everywhere. If you keep throwing tantrums, don't even think about being my girlfriend anymore. When I stayed silent, he lowered his head awkwardly when he looked up at me again. His eyes were rimmed with red as if he were completely shattered seen. And I have agreed not to push the CP narrative for a while. So, please don't be angry. Be good. Swear. Let's take the college entrance exam together and go to the capital together. Jiang Chen's fickle attitude only confirmed my suspicion that he and Tom are cut from the same cloth. I didn't want to waste any more words on him, so I turned and left. From then on, I completely gave up and went with the flow. Idead Malaysia fi, and then sleep every day, and even went back to catch up on shows I'd missed before. Finally, my mom couldn't take it anymore. She yanked me out of bed and said, "Your dad's running around like crazy, and here you are, a total couch potato. Didn't you say you were going to work at the factory? Get in there today on the sweltering assembly line." I was actually in my uniform tightening screws. Fortunately, I'm a quick learner and got the hang of it in less than a day. My dad was really pleased when he saw it, and he even raised my wage to $200 a day after spending a whole week consecutively tightening screws. My arms were so sore and stiff that my hands felt like they belonged to someone else just when I thought life would keep going like this. My homeroom teacher suddenly showed up at my door. Must be tough balancing work and studies. I ran a hand over the dark circles under my eyes from staying up late binge-watching shows, then gave a sheepish laugh. "You came without even letting me know. The beef rice at our cafeteria is really delicious. I'll take you there to try it." The homeroom teacher smiled at me and said, "I didn't come here to eat. I came specifically to see you, me." She pulled me down to sit and said slowly, "I've always thought it was such a shame you didn't take the gallo. As it happens, I heard a private school in Shanghai is looking for someone with your exact talents. I came by specifically to get your thoughts, and you wouldn't even need to be the top scorer there. Just score over 700 points on the gallo, and you'll get a 100,000 yuan bonus. Scoring 700 points would be a breeze for me. A 100 grand handed to me like that. Even though I don't need the money, I have to admit it's tempting. But then it hit me. Transferring schools would still mean I have to take the gallo. Amidst the whirlwind of thoughts, I kept a part of myself guarded. "Teacher, the results for the second mock exam are out." "Right. How did everyone do?" "Overall, the results are quite good with average scores consistently above 600. However, Tom's performance has been very inconsistent lately. She dropped from a perfect score in the first mock exam to 490 the moment the homeroom teacher finished speaking. My guard went up. Her grades dropped so much after I dropped out. Is this really her true ability? She's been under a lot of pressure ever since she got a perfect score. Her mom mentioned she hasn't been doing well mentally lately, and concerned about her well-being. The school gave her a few days off. No way. I actually came across her mom's video channel while scrolling on my phone yesterday. In the video, Tunjin was sharing her study methods with netizens, and she didn't seem the least bit unwell mentally. It tells me there's definitely something fishy going on here. Moreover, Teacher Sue is the homeroom teacher for the senior year class. It's not even the weekend today yet. She specifically put aside her school duties to come find me at the factory. Could it be that she's being used by someone sick? Teacher, I need to be completely honest with you. My family isn't struggling at all. In fact, this factory where I'm tightening screws, it's ours. My dad is the owner. The homeroom teacher stood there frozen, as if he couldn't comprehend what I was saying. The production line manager happened to come by with some fruit. Hearing him address me respectfully as Yen Miss, my homeroom teacher finally snapped out of her daze. Look at how this has turned out. I genuinely meant well, and wanted to help you. I waved my hand dismissively. Mr. Sue, could you tell me where you heard the news about the private school's admissions? The homeroom teacher glanced at the ceaselessly moving assembly line outside the window, and gave an embarrassed smile. Actually, it was Jiang Qin who told me about it. He said he had a fight with you, and it would be awkward for him to reach out directly. So, he asked me to help. Your teacher knows you're dating Jiang Qin, and I was afraid you'd refuse outright if you knew he was behind this. That's why I didn't tell you earlier. You're not upset with me, are you? I shook my head and gave a bright smile. Of course not. Jiang Qin and Tunjin really just won't give up. Will they trying to get me to take the college entrance exam again through such a roundabout way? Something fishy is definitely going on here. After seeing the homeroom teacher off, I was lost and thought for a long time they were closing in on me, and hiding wouldn't do any good. Better to take the fight to them than just wait for the end. But before I could figure out what to do, my dad burst into my room looking agitated. I know what's going on, he said. There's just over a month left until the college entrance exam, and the final mock test is coming right up. I called my homeroom teacher and agreed to transfer to a private school. The homeroom teacher was overjoyed and immediately arranged for someone to handle the transfer process. The first day of school happened to coincide with the third mock exam. I looked at the test paper, a cold smirk curling at the corner of my mouth. Whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad. Few days later, the results came out. As expected, I got a perfect score. Tom Seen also topped the grade ranking list once again. At the same time, Genshin also posted a video officially announcing his relationship with Tom. I waved my hand and dropped 5,000 yuan into advertising. After all, the bigger the fuss, the better it looks. Thanks to my promotion, terms like first love, white moonlight, an ideal couple shot to the top of trending searches. Wah! My ship has sailed. May the golden couple live happily ever after. After weathering the storm, Jim Shachin finally gained recognition, and no longer has to steal glances at Scene. Scene really is my little girl I've watched grow up. She aced her third mock exam, and brought her old mom to tears. This is just the beginning. Sean is definitely going to ace the gala with a perfect score. Everyone, just wait. She'll bring home the top spot for us. I couldn't stop smiling as I stared at the screen, only reluctantly turning off my phone when a flight attendant came by to remind me. In first class, my mother wore a worried expression. Old me is the person you found reliable. For my daughter, I'd even gave a con artist a shot. Time flew by, and a month later, I returned to Xinxing just in time for the national college entrance exams. Just like in my previous life, I was once again assigned to the same examination hall as Tunjin. Before the exam began, she sidled up to me, looking utterly confident of her victory. You still haven't figured it out. And yet, you dare to show up for the gala. You must have studied yourself. Stupid. Michelle, what's the point of being a top student? This year's top scorer will be me, and you're only fit to be trampled under my feet. Genshin stepped forward and gave her a light kiss on the forehead, then sneered at me. Michelle, I don't have to pretend with you anymore. Every word I've ever said to you made me sick to my stomach. Did you really think someone like me, a future star, would ever be interested in a plain bookish nobody like you? They thought this would shatter my resolve, but I'm completely unfazed. Truthfully, I almost want to give their harsh words a thumbs down. I'm going all out for the college entrance exam. Tunjin. Let's see who ends up being the top scorer. 7. I've already taken this exact exam in my past life. So it's like I have the answer key right in front of me. Time ticked by second. My pen never stopped moving until I wrote the final word with a full half hour left before the exam ended. I put down my pen, double-checked that there were no other issues, and then submitted my exam paper. 3 days later, after finishing my final exam, I felt completely refreshed and clear-headed, seeing my mother waiting for me at the school gate in a custom-made cheapo. I dashed out of the examination hall. My dad wiped away a tear and said, "No matter the outcome, I've already arranged a backup plan for you. If all else fails, we'll go abroad for your studies. I'll sell the factory, and our whole family will immigrate. Don't talk such nonsense. Our daughter is this year's top scholar." Feeling a little embarrassed, I nestled into my mother's arms, acting coquettishly, when suddenly, a woman's voice came from behind me. "Ms. Hua, what have you done to me?" Tunjin walked over, her face a mask of fury, and raised her hand as if to strike me. I grabbed her hand in a flash and flung it away with force. What could I have done? I just took the college entrance exam like everyone else. Impossible. You must have done something to me. I was the top student in the whole school. How could I remember nothing? Tongsun's eyes darted around, her lips moving in a silent mutter. Suddenly, she pointed at me, her gaze turning sharp. "It must be you. Ms. Hua, you scheming witch. You'd stoop to anything to be the top scorer. I'm going to report you. You stole my grades. Michaela, just wait for your downfall." Looking into her frenzied eyes, I felt nothing but bitter irony. "I'd like to ask you, what exactly have you done to me?" Toman's eyes shot wide open as she stared at me in disbelief. You know everything. That evening, my father was having dinner with a business client, and happened to mention my situation. Coincidentally, that client had just returned from the Tibetan region. He said the masters there possess remarkable abilities, and suggested we consult them, as they might have a solution. Just before setting off, I deliberately took the 3rd mock exam, all to put Tunjin off her guard. On our 2nd day in Tibet, through an intermediary's introduction, we met the Rinash. After circling me 3 times, he placed his right hand on my head and recited a passage of Buddhist scripture. Suddenly, my head exploded with pain, as if a rusty, dull knife were being twisted back and forth inside my skull. The pain was so intense that I writhed on the floor, my head thumping against the ground with each convulsion. Blood trickled down his forehead, staining the temple's stone floor crimson. My mother was so frantic that tears streamed down her face without stopping. My father immediately dropped to his knees before the master, pleading repeatedly, "Master, I beg you, please save my daughter. Amaba Buddha." The Rainos chanted the Buddha's name and helped my father to his feet. "This young disciple has been afflicted by dark sorcery." After he finished speaking, he pressed both hands onto my head, and the pain in my mind gradually faded, replaced by a warm sensation spreading through my entire body. The warmth began in my limbs, flowing through my body, and gathering at the crown of my head. Am I seeing this right? How did the needle end up in my daughter's head? My father's voice trembled uncontrollably. "You bastard! Who on earth wants to hurt my daughter? Venerable Master, will my daughter be all right? Please save her. I'll do anything you ask." From my observation, this silver needle has been soaked in corpse oil. In this world, only twins share a psychic link. If I'm not mistaken, there is an identical needle within that other person. That is how she has been able to access your daughter's thoughts. If this continues, the young disciple's own consciousness will likely fade away until she becomes nothing but a puppet for the other. I suddenly remembered that a year ago, during a physical education class, I had fainted. When I came to, I was plagued by a terrible headache. It must have been at that moment that Tomini seized the opportunity to insert the silver needle into my brain. Rest assured, disciple, I shall enter seclusion for a month to guide the departed souls. However, I must ask our young benefactor to stay here for the time being. Only upon my emergence will the matter be truly resolved. My parents kept thanking the Rainos, who bowed slightly and replied, "Amipa!" And so I spend a month living in the temple. Besides eating, he meditates for 12 hours a day, repeatedly chanting the Heart Sutra. 30 days later, the Reynos emerged from retreat, and I was just in time to take the college entrance exams. Soon, everyone around the examination hall was drawn by the noise we were making, and gathered around. Tongson was screaming like a madwoman, yelling at the top of her lungs for me to give her grades back. Suddenly, a gasp rippled through the crowd as fresh, crimson blood began to seep slowly from Tongmen's eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. What's wrong with me? What on earth did you do? Tunjin bled from all 7 orifices, looking like a demon that had clawed its way out of hell. What can I do? You brought this all on yourself. Those who commit many wrongs are doomed to fall. Harmdoers will ultimately be hoisted with their own petard. After saying that, I turned and got into the car behind me. Zhang Chen's furious curses rang out, but I didn't even turn my head, calmly telling the driver to drive off. After the exams, our whole family went to the capital to accompany my mother for her surgery. The surgery on my mother was a complete success performed by one of the country's top surgeons. After we returned to Shenzhen, I received a call from my homeroom teacher. Miwi, don't pay any attention to the noise online. I've reported the situation to the principal, and the school will step up to support you. I was completely baffled by what my teacher said. It wasn't until I opened my phone and logged into social media that I discovered Hanging Scene's mother, a mega influencer with millions of followers, had posted a video claiming I stole her daughter's college entrance exam score. The internet is full of people cursing me out. She dares to bully someone as big as Scene. Her family background needs to be investigated thoroughly. Our Scene is a top student. She aced all her mock exams. Just who does Ms. Hua think she is? She had the nerve to tamper with the college entrance exam. Is she tired of living? I've already reported it on the government website. Now it's your turn. Netsons. My father sneered. I haven't even settled the score with them yet, and they're already crying foul with just one phone call. The trending topics exploded within 10 minutes. The school also issued a statement at this time, specifically including the various awards I received in high school. So Mishi is actually the eyes of the Mi family. What does she have to gain by stealing your college entrance exam results if she wanted to get into Harvard? She could easily find someone influential to write her a recommendation letter. Michelle and I were classmates in middle school. Even back then, she was a top student and often represented our school in competitions. Does Tom have some kind of persecution complex? All these years, I've never seen her post her grades. She aced the first and third mock exams. So, how did she only score in the 400s on the second one? Faced with the online criticism, Tom Scene remained silent, as a stone, refusing to come forward and explain herself the day before the results were released. Genshin somehow managed to track down my address and showed up at my house. Xiaosu, it was all that Tom who made me do it. I never meant to harm you. I still have feelings for you. Looking down from the second-floor balcony, I was so terrified I nearly lost my footing. Tang Chen's once handsome face was now covered in gaping bloody holes, still losing fresh blood. Tunjin said, "You didn't deserve to be the top scorer in the Gao. She made me cast a dark spell on you to steal your exam results. She orchestrated everything. I was forced into it. Show, please save me." I pulled out my phone, recorded everything you said, and posted it online. The social media platforms went completely wild, using black magic to steal grades. Tunjin must be out of her mind. I actually saw her at the hospital the other day. She really seems crazy. What normal person would use a drill to open their own skull? She might not be insane. She could be suffering from a dark magic backlash. And to think I actually shipped them. They totally deserve what they got. With Zhang Chen's face ruined, he might as well get out of the entertainment industry for good. My grades came out shortly after I actually got a perfect score, 20 points higher than in my last life. At the end of August, I finally stood before the gates of Tsinghua and Peking University. Just as I had hoped, the senior student in front of me took the luggage from my hands. "Welcome to Tsinghua and Peking University. Junior." End of text. Story 2. My mom loves testing. Which of us, my sister or me, loves her more? When I was 5, she pretended to want the candy we were holding. I hesitated for a second, but my sister immediately shoved her candy into Mom's mouth. From then on, Mom decided my sister was her favorite and I unsurprisingly became the ungrateful one in her eyes. After the college entrance exam, my mother set the curtains on fire to test whether I would save her again. This time, I didn't hesitate. I rescued my mother, but perished in the flames myself. A few days later, my sister took my place at university and stole my boyfriend along the way. They became a family bound by genuine love and affection, yet I was utterly obliterated without even a gravestone to my name. My sister and I are twins, and for as long as I can remember, our mother has always tested which of us loved her more. My earliest memory dates back to when I was 5 years old. That spring festival, Mom took my sister and me to our uncle's house for New Year's greetings. The house was bustling with guests playing Maung in the living room while the coffee table was laden with nuts and snacks. My sister and I extended New Year's wishes to everyone, and they all praised us for being both lovely and well-behaved, giving us red envelopes. Only our aunt didn't give us a red envelope. She pressed a few candies into my sister's and my hands, saying they were imported and quite expensive. My aunt gestured for us to share the candies with our mother. Understanding the hint, my mother took our hands and asked with hopeful eyes, "Mom would like some candy, too." Which of my sweethearts would share theirs with me? The clutter of Mongs quieted as everyone watched the unfolding challenge with bated breath. Clutching the candy, I grew nervous under the adult's gaze. The dark brown cellophane wrapper crackled softly in my palm, making me hesitate for a second, and had given us coffee candies. Neither my sister nor I liked them, and Mom detested their bitter taste before I could tell Mom the candy was bitter. My little sister had already torn open the wrapper, and standing on her tiptoes, stuffed it into Mom's mouth. "Mommy, Livia loves Mommy. Livia gives all her candy to Mommy." Mom's face scrunched up from the bitterness. Instinctively, I took a step back and hid my candy behind me. Auntie giggled. "So, it turns out Livia loves Mommy more. She's willing to share her candy. Pamela is being so stingy, hiding in fear." My mother's face instantly fell. Her daughter, who had just been praised for being pretty and well-behaved, was now embarrassing her by being stingy with a single piece of candy. The adults burst into laughter. Grandma affectionately stroked Livia's hair, praising her for being sensible, while Uncle jokingly scolded me as a little ingrate. I stood there in a panic, feeling utterly wronged. Before I could even defend myself, tears began to stream down my cheeks, betraying my emotions. My mother forced down the candy she disliked with visible effort, then gently drew Livia into her embrace. When her eyes met mine again, they were cold as ice. She reached out and yanked me so hard I stumbled. Candies clattered across the floor as my mother began scolding me through gritted teeth. "How dare you cry? You won't even share a piece of candy with your own mother. What a waste it was raising you." I cried even harder, my words coming out in broken sobs. "Mom, it's not that I don't want to share the candy. I just couldn't bear to see you suffer." But before I could finish, Livia wriggled out of Mom's embrace and stumbled over to wipe my tears. "Don't cry, sis. You can have my candy." She stuffed all her candy into my hands, and everyone around us immediately started murmuring in admiration. "Livia is such a thoughtful child. How can twins be so different? Why does Pamela seem so defiant? The child is the father of the man that Pamela is such a selfish girl. She'll never take care of her parents when she grows up." I could sense with a child's intuition that those were hurtful words. I was so upset and flustered that my face turned bright red, and my palms were sweaty, but I was too young to find the right words to explain myself. I just threw the candy my sister gave me on the ground and shouted at her through tears, "I don't want your stupid candy. You're only giving it to me because you don't like it yourself." Livia burst into terrified tears and shrieked as she threw herself into my mother's arms. My mother immediately slapped me across the face. "Your sister was being kind to you. What's wrong with you? I work myself to the bone taking care of you, and this is the thanks I get. An ungrateful brat." My cheek burned, my ears were ringing, and I just stood there frozen, even forgetting to cry. The guests were busy playing Maung, occasionally turning around to tell my mom to calm down. My aunt stepped forward to stop my mom. I faintly heard my aunt urging me to apologize quickly. "Pamela, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and say sorry to your mom and sister." I stood there helplessly, unable to understand what I had done wrong. But the disappointed looks from my family and Livia's smug expression cut through me like a knife. It stunned even more than the slap my mother had given me. Finally, I choked up through my sobs to my mother. "Mom, I was wrong. I'll give you all my candy from now on." But my mother just scoffed, kept Livia's face, and kissed her cheek. "I couldn't possibly accept your treats. My precious Livette is all I need." A wave of dread washed over me like never before. I felt abandoned by my own mother, as if the sky were crashing down. I begged my mother through tears not to abandon me, but she snapped at me impatiently. "Stop crying during the new year. You're nothing but bad luck. Get away from me." It was only then that the others in the room began to speak up for me. Honestly, what do you expect from a 5-year-old? You can't test a child's love for their mother with a piece of candy. My aunt's face flushed with embarrassment, and she quickly shoved me into Grandma's dark little room. I grabbed her hand, crying, and begged to go find my mom. My aunt shot me a glare and snapped, "Looking for your mom. Can't you see? She only cares about Livia. Shut your mouth and behave yourself. If you keep crying, she'll give you away." I was so frightened that I stifled my sobs, standing alone in the small room until dark. When dinner was ready, my aunt let me out. I sat down at the table, stealing glances at my mother's expression. I wanted to pick up a piece of sweet and sour fish, but seeing my mother's tightly furrowed brow, I withdrew my chopsticks. Mom shot me a glare and placed the fish platter in front of my sister. She carefully fed the deboned fish into my sister's little mouth. I picked up my plain rice, feeling utterly heartbroken. But what hurt even more was that from that day on, Mom only ever called my sister sweetheart in that gentle tone. They started calling me by my full name. That New Year, my refusal to share candy with my mother became the talk of the town. As relatives visited each other, the story quickly spread and grew. At later gatherings, people would ask my mother to confirm the story. My mother would tirelessly put us on the spot in front of everyone, testing whether my sister or I loved her more. Unfortunately, despite my usual efforts to win my mother's favor, I always ended up losing these tests to my sister. Every time this happened, my mother would pull Livia into a hug, then poke my head with her finger in disgust while telling others, "See, just as I said, this child Pamela has no real bond with me. Cold-hearted and ungrateful." My relatives and friends clicked their tongues louder than cracking sunflower seeds, taking turns lecturing me about being a devoted daughter. I picked up my fingers and nodded numbly, my mind feeling like wood. I kept blaming myself for failing the test, for never measuring up to my younger sister. Gradually, I began to doubt myself. Was I truly as selfish and heartless as people claimed, incapable of loving my own mother? So, when our house caught fire after the college entrance exams, and Mom called, begging for help, I charged into the inferno without hesitation, because I felt this was finally my chance to prove myself. In that fire, I managed to save my mother, younger sister, and my boyfriend Sean, but at the cost of my own life. My spirit drifted among my family, hoping to hear a single word of praise from my mother. Instead, I overheard her complaining to my sister. I just lit the curtain to test Pamela, who knew the fire would spread so fast. She managed to save us, but couldn't save herself. I've never seen anyone so stupid, utterly pig-headed. What a disgrace to our family. The moment she finished insulting me, the prestigious university acceptance letter for this stupid pig arrived. My mother stroked the crimson admission letter and smiled. She hugged Livia, whispering in her ear, "Sweetheart, your golden days are here." The next thing I knew, my mother was telling everyone that Livia had died in a fire while trying to save her. No one doubted her story. After all, everyone knew how much Livia adored our mother, while I was the cold-hearted one who'd never sacrificed myself for anyone. After the funeral, my mother scattered my ashes to the wind. Livia personally went to register her own household registration and assumed my identity to attend university. Sean quite naturally became her boyfriend. The three of them guarded the shared secret, living a life that was incredibly cozy and comfortable. On the first anniversary of my death, Livia and Sean got engaged. That day, Livia had too much to drink with blurry eyes. She confided in Sean, "You know why I always come out on top when my mom tests my sister. And me? It's because she'd secretly rehearsed with me beforehand. Hearing her confession, the weight finally lifted from my soul all these years. The reason I never measured up to Livia wasn't because I loved Mom any less. It was because Mom had been tipping Livia off about all those tests of hers in advance. Livia had been cheating in this game all along with help from none other than my mother, the proctor herself. So, when I found myself reborn on the Dragon Boat Festival right before the college entrance exams, I decided to just stop trying altogether. I was hunched over my uncle's coffee table doing practice problems when I realized I'd been reborn. My father worked as a sailor and was home for less than 2 months each year. So, Mom often brought my sister and me to celebrate holidays at her uncle's house. After dinner, my uncle was gaming in his study while Grandma and the others sat chatting on the sofa. My mom was half-heartedly watching TV when she suddenly spoke up on a whim. Back in ancient times, when a mother fell ill, filial children would cut flesh from their own bodies to feed her. When I first heard the saying in my past life, my mind was still too bogged down with exam preparations to process it. I even tried to educate my mother about it. Mom, that's complete nonsense. Don't you know eating human flesh can actually make you sick? But Livia snuggled into Mom's arms, looking up sweetly and saying, Mom, if you ever get sick, I'd give you my own flesh without hesitation. My mother said, What a good girl, then turned her gaze to me. She threw the sunflower seeds in her hand into the plate, sneering, Pamela, I always knew you were selfish. If real danger came, you'd never save me. And so, because of this ancient and absurd legend, I was once again branded as an unfilled daughter. In this life, when Mom said that a filial child would cut flesh from their own body to feed their mother, I didn't immediately voice my stance. I looked at Livia. Livia smiled with an air of triumph, leaning into Mom's embrace, just like in our past life, and said, Mom, if you ever fall ill, I give you as much of my flesh as you need. My mother gave her a satisfied kiss, then lifted her head and shot me a look of disgust. I stretched lazily while doing eye exercises and said in a drawn-out tone, But I wish he'd live to a 100, Mom, and never get sick. My mother stared at me in surprise. She probably couldn't understand how her usually dull and unfilled daughter had suddenly become so articulate. After a moment's pause, Mom pursed her lips and said, Pamela, you're only saying that because you don't want to make a real sacrifice, aren't you? I chuckled and moved closer to my mother, starting to lift her clothes. Mom, since you're so filial, show me exactly which part of your flesh you cut off for Grandma to eat. My aunt, who had been watching the scene, couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. My mother's face immediately darkened. She knocked my hand away and straightened her clothes. Pamela, what's gotten into you? Didn't your teacher say you were a top student? And yet here you are, believing those superstitious old tales. That's just how my mom is. Any compliment I get from others always becomes ammunition for her to mock me. I turned back to the coffee table, but my sister believed it just now. Why aren't you scolding her? Is it because she's not a top student like me? That sentence put my mom on high alert. She hugged Livia, whose eyes were red from crying, and pointed at me angrily, shouting, Pamela, stop trying to drive a wedge between us. The way she talks, you'd think I wasn't her daughter. My mom started rattling on like a machine gun. Pamela, what's the use of being a straight-A student? Did all that education go to waste when I broke my leg recently? It was Livia who took time off to come home and take care of me a few months ago. My mom got her foot hit by an electric scooter and fractured her little toe. The doctor said it wasn't a big deal, but my mom insisted on testing Livia and me, asking which of us could take leave to care for her at home. Livia did terribly on her high school entrance exams, so my mom had to pull a lot of strings just to get her into vocational school. But after enrolling, she spent every day smoking, drinking, skipping classes, and getting into fights. Her grades landed her in the bottom 8 of the entire grade level for her. Attending school made absolutely no difference. But I was different. I got into a top-tier high school in the city and consistently ranked in the top 3 of my grade. I'm about to take the college entrance exams again. How could I possibly take time off? But of course, my mom had to use this as another shining example to add to my record of being an unfilled daughter. I buried my head in my homework, but I kept talking at the same time. Mom, it's true that Livia took leave, but how exactly did she take care of you? I made breakfast. You two ate the leftovers for lunch, and you both ordered takeout. For dinner, I get home from school at 11 p.m. every night, and still have to do laundry and mop the floors. What exactly has Livia done besides lying on your bed playing games? Has she even poured you a glass of water? Auntie smirked with shod and free. Well, Pamela, that's not what your mother told us. She said, Livia is so filial, and plans to rely on her for retirement. Livia glanced at her aunt, tears streaming down her face, her voice thick with tears. Do you hate me so much, Sis, that you have to make me out to be completely useless? I retorted silently in my head. You're not completely useless. You're quite skilled at seducing my boyfriend. Some people just have a sixth sense when they're being talked about. Sure enough, the phone rang right after I finished that thought. If I glanced at the screen and saw it was Sean, Olivia also noticed Sean's name. She sniffled and gave a heartbreaking smile. Don't worry about me, sis. You should answer the call. It wasn't until the day of the fire in my past life that I discovered Livia had already been involved with Sean. Come to think of it, they must have been in love for quite some time by now. Yet, I was too foolish to have noticed. Fighting back my disgust, I answered the call. After taking a deep breath, I softly said, Hello. Olivia bit her lip, a flicker of envy and resentment in her eyes that I quickly caught. Clutching the phone, I walked up to the balcony. Sean's voice came through the line. Pamela, what are you up to? Glancing back at Livia, I replied coldly, doing homework. Sean gave a soft "oh," then asked, Not watching TV with your sister? In my past life, the moment the call connected, I couldn't hold back my tears. I told him I'd upset Mom again, blaming myself for not being as articulate as Livia. He sighed and offered to talk to Livia on my behalf. I handed the phone to Livia. They spoke for over half an hour, and when she emerged, her cheeks were flushed. But when I asked what they had talked about, both of them said it was confidential. The memory sent a chill down my spine. I asked Sean, Is something wrong? He stammered, Nothing really. Just checking in. I thought you were watching TV with Livia. He hadn't called for me. It was Livia he wanted to talk to. Olivia has her own phone yet. They insist on using mine to communicate. Are they trying to savor the thrill of their affair? A chill ran through me, and just as I was about to hang up, Livia darted up from behind me. She snatched my phone and hissed at Sean. Sean, Pamela is picking on me again. With that, she marched straight into the bedroom with my phone, locking herself in for over half an hour. When she finally emerged, her eyes were even more red-rimmed. Looks like she's been pouring her heart out to Sean this whole time. I took the phone and turned to leave. Livia spread her arms to block my path. Aren't you curious what we talked about, Pamela? I curled my lip dismissively. Not interested. I'd rather not hear the disgusting conversation between that scumbag and that. Livia's face darkened. Clutching her new dress, she stared at my threadbare clothes and shrieked, Pamela, what gives you the right to act so high and mighty? Then she shoved me hard. Caught off guard, I was shoved to the ground by her. The pain finally ignited my rage. With a swift sweep of my leg, I tripped Livia. Hearing Livia's shriek, my mother charged over like a mad woman, grabbed my hair, and slammed my head against the floor. Pamela, you ungrateful little brat. How dare you lay a hand on Livia? My head hit the cold tiles with a thud. At the same time, dazzling lights flared up outside the window. Someone was setting off fireworks. Startled, I flinched and curled up in panic. Watching the fireworks shoot into the sky, I was reminded of a past life engulfed in flames and thick smoke. So this is what it feels like to be consumed by flames. The pain is beyond imagination. I was at school when the fire broke out that day. The moment I found out I got accepted, my mom called. My mother screamed in panic. Pamela, the house is on fire. Come home and save me. Amid the cries for help came several coughs choked up by the thick smoke. Without a moment's hesitation, I dashed straight home. The living room was filled with billowing smoke, and I found my mother semi-conscious in a corner of the kitchen. After struggling to drag her downstairs, my mom told me that the lock on the secondary bedroom was broken, and Livia and Sean were still trapped inside. I can't figure out why Sean and Livia ended up locked together in my bedroom. But before I could ask, my mom was already pushing me to go rescue them. Sweetheart, I'm begging you. Go save Livia now. I'll call the police right away. She hadn't called me that since the candy incident when I was 5. It took me 13 years of effort to finally hear her call me baby again. Instantly energized, I scrambled to my feet and charged back upstairs. I forced the bedroom door open to find Livia and Sean in a disheveled embrace. Weak from the smoke, Sean shielded Livia as they crawled toward the open door. I stared at them in shock, only to be struck by collapsing roof beams. The next second, Sean glanced back, and Livia tightened her grip on his hand. We can't even save ourselves. Let's just wait for the fire department. Without hesitation, Sean turned away. I lay on the ground, coughing from the thick smoke. My chest felt like it was about to burst. My eyes were filled with tears, and I was nearly blinded by the fumes. When the flames licked at my clothes, I knew there would be no rescue. Our home was in an old neighborhood slated for demolition, with all the other families already gone. My mother refused to move out, holding out as a stubborn resident to squeeze more compensation money from the developers. The alleyways here are so narrow that 2 electric scooters can barely pass side by side. No fire truck could ever make it through. So, from the very beginning, Livia never intended for me to make it out alive. Soon, I was engulfed in flames, writhing in excruciating pain for what felt like an eternity before finally succumbing. Only after my death did I discover that Livia and Sean had taken advantage of my mother's absence. While she was at the internet cafe checking my admission results to lock themselves in my bedroom and hook up unaware they were home. My mother had learned I got into a prestigious university, and fearing I might grow too independent to support her later set the curtains on fire to test my loyalty, but the cheap synthetic curtains went up instantly, and flames quickly raced out of control toward the ceiling. The thick smoke nearly choked my mother unconscious, just as Livia and Sean in the bedroom realized something was wrong. They tried to escape but found the door jammed shut. They started pounding on the door, begging my mother to save them. That's when she discovered there were 2 more people trapped inside. The searing pain from being burned, alive in my past life, shot through my nerves. I lay paralyzed on the floor, unable to regain my composure. My mother yanked me out by the collar, screaming at me with such fury that spittle sprayed across my face. What's with the act? You think playing dead after one little slap will work on me? Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I'm not allowed to discipline you? Don't forget, I'm your mother. I am your mother. There it was again, that same phrase in her mind. The title mother seemed to gild her in gold, as if she were some sacred statue with the power to decide my fate on a whim. I slowly pried my mother's hand away. Mom, Livia pushed me first. That's why I tripped her. Why are you only yelling at and hitting me? My expression must have been ferocious. My mother froze for a moment, then suddenly exploded with anger again. Just because she pushed you doesn't mean you should retaliate. You're in the wrong for fighting back. I laughed coldly, then suddenly yanked Livia over and slapped her hard across the face twice. Livia tried to fight back, so I kicked her. I threw the first punch this round, but Mom just said, "If you fight back, you're in the wrong." My mom was so furious. She grabbed a stool and held it at me. I dodged, and my mom slipped and landed on the floor. Olivia crawled over and shielded Mom with her body. Cease. How could you treat Mom like this? If you're angry, take it out on me. How could you hit Mom? My uncle, aunt, and Grandma rushed over. At the sound, my uncle slapped me across the face and yelled, "You ungrateful brat! How dare you hit your own mother?" Warm blood trickled from my nose. I wiped it away, gave them all a cold stare, grabbed my backpack, and stormed out amid the glow of countless household lights. I made my way home alone. I left the family group chat because I knew it wouldn't be long before all my aunts would be delightedly gossiping about my glorious exploits. My face stunned, but my heart felt at peace like never before. With just 3 days left until the college entrance exams, every minute of my time had to be devoted to studying. The next day, my mom came back with Livia. Livia moved into my mother's bedroom, and Mom only cooked for the 2 of them. They completely ignored me, but I actually enjoyed the peace and quiet I survived on bread while grinding through practice problems over and over until 3 days later when I headed to the exam. In my previous life, I got into a top-tier 985 university. But this time around, I went straight to Tsinghua on the day I checked the admission results. My homeroom teacher gave me a tight hug. She patted my bony back, the warmth from her palm seeping through my faded old t-shirt. "Congratulations, Pamela." The moment my homeroom teacher finished speaking, my phone rang. As soon as the call connected, before I could say a word, my mom screamed, "Pamela, come home quick and save me. The house is on fire." Clutching the phone, my whole body trembled, not just because the most critical moment of my past life had arrived, but also because last night I uncovered a secret from my past life that had always eluded me. When I got up for water in the middle of the night, I happened to hear Livia crying from my mother's bedroom. "Mom, I'm so jealous of my sister. She scored over 700. That's Tsinghua, or Peking University level. It's a shame I'm so useless. I couldn't even get into a private vocational college." My mother whispered reassuringly, "Sweetheart, I've been saving all the money your father earned these years for. You don't feel burdened by it. I just want my filial child to be happy." Livia burst into even more bitter tears upon hearing this. "Mom, I'm already this old, and still spending yours and Dad's money. How can I hold my head up? It's so unfair. Why did God give a brilliant mind to an ungrateful daughter like my sister? Mom, if she gets into Tsinghua, do you think she'll ever take care of you?" My mother scoffed coldly, as if I could ever count on her. Livia sobbed, "Mom, I want to go to university, too. If I had a good diploma like my sister, I'd definitely land a decent job. I'd give all the money I earned to you." After a long silence, my mother told Livia, "Don't cry, sweetheart. I promise you'll go to college, just like Pamela did." "Mom, how is that even possible?" "Don't worry about it. Don't you have plans to go boating with Sean tomorrow? Just go enjoy yourself. I'll figure something out." So, it turned out my mother had known all along that Livia and Sean were involved with each other. I stood outside the door, a chill running from head to toe, because I realized that the fire wasn't my mother's attempt to test my love for her at all. My mother had long decided to let Livia live the life that should have been mine. At that thought, I spoke into the phone to tell my mother, "Mom, don't panic. I'll call the fire department for you right now." My mother screamed into the phone, "Pamela, are you even human? You're a monster. Did you think I didn't know fire trucks can't get through here? I'm your mother. Instead of rushing back to save me, you just stand by and watch me die." So, she knew fire trucks couldn't get through. After all, I wanted to hang up the phone, but then I thought of Livia and Sean having their affair in the bedroom, and I suddenly changed my mind. I sighed, "Mom, I forgot the fire truck can't get through. You have to hold on. I'm coming back to save you right now." After hanging up, my homeroom teacher looked at me with concern. "Pamela, what's wrong?" "Teacher, there's a fire at my house, and the fire trucks can't get to right away. I need to rush back to check on it." In my previous life, after receiving my mom's call, I didn't say another word to the teacher, and just ran straight home this time. The homeroom teacher grabbed my hand and said, "Pamela, firefighting is no joke. Call 911 right now, and I'll go back with you." I dialed 911, and then the homeroom teacher looked around and asked, "Sean isn't here today." Before the college entrance exams, the whole class had made a promise to our teacher. We'd come back to check our admission results together after submitting our applications. But today, everyone showed up except for Sean. I knew exactly why. Both Sean and Olivia were currently trapped in my bedroom. Our homeroom teacher waved a dismissive hand. "Forget it. Let's not wait for Sean." Our teacher drove us, me, and 3 male classmates, toward my home, but the narrow alley forced us to stop far from the house. We sprinted home only to find thick smoke billowing at the building's entrance. Drawing on memories from my past life, I didn't panic and rush around aimlessly. Instead, I went straight to the kitchen and pulled my mother out. After dragging my mother downstairs, she gradually came to and grabbed my hand. "Pamela, your sister and Sean are still trapped in the bedroom. You need to go save them. Quick!" "Sean!" I was baffled. "Mom, did the smoke get to you?" Sean is my boyfriend. Why would he be in our bedroom with Livia? My mother grew frantic. I'm perfectly lucid. The bedroom door lock is broken. And they're locked inside. They were banging on the door for help earlier. But now it's gone quiet. This is bad. Honey, you have to go get them out now. How ironic that term of endearment was. My past self completely missed the ominous undertone. It was practically a death sentence. I shook my head and looked at my mom helplessly. Mom, you must be really shaken up. Livia said just yesterday she was going boating today. There's no way she'd be home right now. If you don't believe me, I'll call her. I took out my phone and dialed Livia's number. It just kept ringing with no answer. So, I tried to reassure my mom. Mom, Livia must be having too much fun to hear her phone. My mother collapsed in tears at my feet, sobbing. Pamela, I'm not lying to you. Your sister and Sean are really in the bedroom. I'll be honest with you. Sean has been secretly seducing Livia behind. You're back for a long time. Livia is so naive. She's completely fallen under his spell. They were supposed to go boating today, but for some reason, they didn't go. They're really in the bedroom right now. The homeroom teacher and the 3 male students stood there with their jaws hanging open. I stared at my mother in disbelief. Mom, are you saying Livia has been secretly seeing Sean behind my back? They locked themselves in the bedroom for a date today, and now they're trapped inside because of the fire. Tears streamed down my face. Mom, why? She's my own sister. How could she do this to me? And you're my mother. Why didn't you stop them? My mom is practically losing her mind with worry, almost at the point of getting down on her knees to cow out to me. Sweetheart, your sister is the one to blame for this. But now is not the time to dwell on that. You need to go save them any later, and it'll be too late to get them out. I remembered my past life, the moment I was trapped under the collapsed roof, watching Sean and Livia turn their backs on me without a second thought. My eyes were bloodshot as I pretended to be so shocked I was on the verge of fainting. I murmured a quiet okay. Then I made a move to rush upstairs. My homeroom teacher and the 3 male students held me back firmly. Pamela, in your condition, how can you go up there to save anyone? The fire is raging. You'd just be adding another casualty. My mother yelled at my homeroom teacher. Who do you think you are, daring to stop my daughter from saving someone? My mother never cared about my studies or my life to the point that she didn't even recognize my homeroom teacher. The homeroom teacher pulled me behind her and told my mother, I am Pamela's teacher. The reason I followed her is because I was afraid she might act impulsively. I need to ensure her safety. Just then, the firefighter called me, after confirming that the fire truck indeed couldn't get through. The firefighters rushed in with fire extinguishers. When Livia and Sean were rescued, they were barely breathing, their skin almost completely charred. At the hospital, they were immediately rushed to the ICU. My mother went berserk, grabbing my hair and hitting me while screaming, I'll beat you to death. You wretched child. If you had gone to save your sister earlier, she wouldn't be lying there half dead like this, since I had been admitted to Tsinghua University. And her home had just been destroyed by fire. Reporters were following us for coverage. The video of my mom beating me went viral instantly when the homeroom teacher and 3 male classmates revealed the truth about Livia and Sean being together. Public opinion completely turned against them. My mom gained nothing from it, and everyone was calling her a troublemaker. My mom stayed outside the ICU the whole time. I brought her food and water, cried with her, and whenever Sean and Livia's relationship came up, I'd bite my lip hard, lower my head, and sob. I perfectly portrayed a gentle, kind, and filial daughter, as well as a sister betrayed by a scumbag, and her own younger sister. After 10 agonizing days of struggle, Livia ultimately passed away when the doctor broke the news to my mother. She let out a mournful wail like a wounded wolf with bloodshot eyes. She pointed at me and screamed, Pamela, if it weren't for you and that homeroom teacher of yours refusing to help, your sister would still be alive. I'm going to see you both and send you to prison. It never crossed her mind that the apple of her eye would depart this world. Before her, she was still counting on her darling to care for her in her old age. She stared at me as if I were a villain, and I calmly told her, Mom, if you loved Livia so much, why didn't you climb up to save her? Weren't you just as guilty of standing by And doing nothing. My words left my mother speechless, unable to argue back. She resorted to throwing a tantrum in the hospital corridor, wailing, and rolling on the floor. I ignored her. That was until I saw Olivia's body. The woman who had always taken such pride in her appearance was now a broken mess. Her once carefully maintained fair skin was charred black, oozing with pus and blood. In life, her greatest joy was buying new clothes to wear. Yet, in death, the burns left her without a stitch on. I ran my fingers along the hem of my old t-shirt and suddenly realized I hadn't worn anything new since I was 5. Back then, a friend asked her why she didn't dress her twin daughters in matching outfits. My mother replied, "We couldn't afford new clothes. The girls always wore hand-me-downs from relatives. Getting 2 identical sets was impossible." In fact, my dad handed over almost all of his earnings to my mom, keeping only a small portion for his own living expenses. Our family wasn't struggling financially, but most of the spending went toward my younger sister, Livia Tipdanche, and piano lessons, but ended up quitting both halfway through. Everything she wore was brand new, while every single item I had was hand-me-downs. On the day of Livia's burial, my mom bought her the best burial plot available. I thought of my past life, where my ashes were casually scattered by my mother into a filthy ditch, and couldn't help but sigh. "Mom, you've loved Livia from the very beginning, haven't you? You didn't start disliking me from that candy test when I was 5. You never liked me from the moment I was born, right?" My mother stared blankly at the photo on Livia's tombstone. "Yes, I never liked you from the start. I was in labor for 3 days. My amniotic fluid had long dried up, and in the end I had no choice but to have a C-section. The doctor said you were transverse in the birth canal, which is why I couldn't deliver naturally." I smiled bitterly. Livia was a pound heavier than me at birth. "Mom, did it ever occur to you that the reason I was transverse in your womb might have been because Livia kicked me into that position?" My mother froze for a moment, her facial muscles twitching uncontrollably. But in the end, she still looked at me with a mocking gaze, an eerie smile twisting her features. "Pamela, your sister is already dead. How could you still slander her like this? What are you trying to achieve? Are you happy that your sister died? You and Livia are twins. Your hearts are connected. With her gone, what's even the point of you still being alive?" She had somehow gotten hold of a sharp knife and hidden it in her sleeve. Before her words even faded, she lunged straight at me with the blade. I screamed and dodged, but stumbled and fell to the ground. My mother lunged at me with a menacing grin, but her wrist was caught in a vice-like grip. I slowly raised my head. It was Dad. Dad. And I weren't particularly close since he spent most of the year at sea. But every time he returned home, he'd bring 2 identical gifts. One for me, and one for Livia. Only with Dad did Livia and I receive equal treatment. Dad cut his cargo ship voyage short, switching to a flight home after hearing our sister had been burned. Sadly, he never got to see her one last time. His eyes were bloodshot, his stubble-grown lung. My nose tingled with emotion as I whispered, "Dad!" Dad snatched the knife from Mom's hand, helped me up, and shielded me behind him as he yelled at her. "We've already lost Livia, and Pamela is our only daughter left. How could you bring yourself to hurt her?" Mom had no tears left. She wailed dryly. "How could I? It's just a stab. What's the big deal? I got cut, too, when I gave birth to her." My father said slowly, "You didn't endure that surgery for Pamela alone, but for both Pamela and Livia. That cut was made by a doctor, not Pamela. It was to welcome new life. But if you strike Pamela today, you be sending her to her death." Mother's lips trembled as she whispered, "Yes, I want her dead. She never loved me as a mother. Only Livia truly loved me. I couldn't take it anymore. Mom, I've always loved you. It was you who created those tests and trials that made others think I didn't care. But you know perfectly well you tipped off Livia about every single challenge beforehand. Mom, you never intended for me to win." 2 weeks after Livia's burial, Sean's condition stabilized. He was transferred out of the ICU and moved to a regular hospital room. Sean survived, but now faced grueling treatment and rehabilitation, a process that was not only incredibly expensive, but also excruciatingly painful. When I went to visit him, Tears welled in the corners of his eyes as he spoke 2 sentences to me. "I'm sorry, and let me die." I stared coldly at him, wrapped like a mummy, then leaned close to his ear and told him, "Sean, I won't accept your apology, and I can't grant you release either. The treatment will be agonizing. You'll just have to endure it slowly. Everything I went through in my past life, he'll experience 100,000 times over. Otherwise, what would be the point of my rebirth? Of course, even if he managed to survive all that suffering, he'd end up living as a monster. The burns covered too large an area and were too deep. Skin grafts were out of the question. The week before my school started, Sean's parents couldn't take it anymore after hearing his screams during daily dressing changes. So, they sued my mother. This never happened in my previous life. I was the one who died, while Livia and Sean were completely unharmed and off traveling at the time. The court accepted the case, and after a thorough investigation, determined that the fire was caused by the curtains catching fire. During the subsequent interrogation, my mother broke down and confessed that she was the one who had set the curtains on fire. She defended herself, saying, "I set the curtains on fire just to test whether Pamela would come to my rescue. I had no idea the flames would suddenly grow out of control, and I certainly didn't know Sean would be at my house. I'm not guilty. You can't send me to prison." I also refused to pay any compensation because Sean, who was dating my eldest daughter, was secretly pursuing my younger daughter. He sneaked into my house with the intention of assaulting my daughter. His burns are his own fault. He got what he deserved. As for Sean, he was so determined to die that he refused to speak about what happened that day. In the end, my father couldn't live with his conscience. So, he took the initiative to withdraw our family savings and compensated Sean's family. And my mother still hadn't realized her mistake. She pounded her fist against my father's chest. "Have you lost your mind? Livia's dead, and you gave all our money to Sean's family. How am I supposed to survive with nothing left?" My father pushed her away, barely containing his rage. "You're the one who started the fire. If you hadn't tried testing Pamela, would Livia have died? Would Sean have been burned? You killed Livia. How can you still show no remorse?" Mom broke down, sobbing uncontrollably when her tears finally subsided. She stared blankly at my father and said, "Pamela is nothing but an ungrateful wretch. I just wanted to see if she cared about me. After getting into Tsinghua, what did I do wrong?" Seeing her refusal to see reason, my father shook his head and said, "Let's get a divorce." My mother froze for a moment, then suddenly lunged at my father, hitting and clawing at him frantically. "You want a divorce? What gives you the right to divorce me? The right comes from how much I trusted you. I never thought you could be such a vicious mother." I found a chance to tell my dad about the conversation I overheard between my mom and Livia that night. After hearing it, he gently stroked my hair and said, "Pamela, you've been through a lot." Tears instantly welled up in my eyes throughout my 18 years of growing up. This man before me never provided much companionship. He just kept his head down working to make money, then handed it all over to Mom. And precisely because of this, he's always been filled with guilt towards Mom and his 2 sisters. In my past life, I was burned to death. My mother scattered my ashes and only told my father about my death after Livia had already left for college. But she told him it was Livia who had died. My father rushed back in a hurry, yet he still caught on to the truth. When he went to visit Livia at the university, he recognized her at a glance. My parents had a heated argument. My mother argued vehemently, "Are we just going to throw away such a prestigious university opportunity? Since Livia and Pamela are identical twins, what's wrong with Livia taking Pamela's place and living her life?" My father's eyes reamed with anguish. "I'll let that first point slide. But what about Sean? Why is Pamela's serious boyfriend now with Livia? And why did you scatter Pamela's ashes? You wouldn't even give her a proper gravestone." Watching my father argue so passionately on my behalf, I couldn't help but wonder. My reserved nature must come from him. Though Dad only saw me a handful of times each year, he instantly recognized Livia was impersonating me. He did love me. He just wasn't good at showing it. At that moment, my mother fell silent under my father's relentless questioning. Later, fearing my father would eventually uncover their secret, she took the initiative to file for divorce, using her years of child care as leverage. She made my father leave the house with nothing but the clothes on his back. My father scooped up mud from the foul ditch where my mother's ashes had been scattered, and cast it into the sea during his next voyage. Go in peace, my daughter. May you find a tranquil home in the ocean. Your father will always be with you. When my mother refused to agree to a divorce, my father took her to court. In the courtroom, seeing my father's unwavering resolve to leave, my mother told the judge, "I request custody of Pamela." The judge massaged his forehead and said, "Madam, your daughter Pamela is already 18 years old. The issue of custody is not up for discussion." The truth suddenly dawned on my mother. Smoothing the graying hair at her temples, she asked me, "My dear, you've grown up. You don't need me to support you anymore. From now on, it's your turn to be my rock." Her tone was awkward and clearly ingratiating. Having lost her beloved daughter, she now has to rely solely on me. I remained silent. My mother pressed for an answer. "Pamela, will you be good to me or to your father?" I pressed my pale lips together, thinking of how I'd spend over a decade trying to win her approval at every waking moment. I couldn't help but press down the corners of my mouth. "Mom, Dad passed my test. The pity is you didn't." My mother froze, tears streaming down her face. In the end, my mother signed the divorce papers, just like in the previous life. My father walked away with nothing. But this time around, all our family savings had gone to Sean, leaving my mother with nothing but an empty house. Dad rented a 2-bedroom apartment, and no longer spent endless days and nights out at sea like he used to during my breaks. I'd stay at Dad's place. We didn't talk much, but our conversations were always lighthearted. Meanwhile, ever since the fire, Mom had been staying at my uncle's house. Within 2 months, my aunt started slamming things around, giving my mother dirty looks every day, and calling her a freeloader. My mother put up with it a few times, but during their last physical fight, she grabbed a kitchen knife and chopped off my aunt's hand. My mother kept cursing nonstop. "This is all your fault. If you hadn't insisted I'd test Pamela, and Livia with Candy, too. See, you love me more. Would I have ended up like this?" My uncle rushed my aunt to the hospital. When I got the call and went to visit, I heard Sean had jumped from the hospital building. He couldn't bear the heart-wrenching pain, nor could he stand the sight of his own disfigured appearance. The slash my mother inflicted was too severe. My aunt's hand couldn't be reattached. My aunt sued my mother, but the court ultimately ruled that my mother had developed schizophrenia and was therefore unfit to serve a prison sentence. My aunt had to swallow her pride after suffering a loss she couldn't openly complain about. She pressured my grandmother to use all her savings to buy a bigger house, and sternly warned both my grandmother and uncle that under no circumstances were they allowed to let my mother come back home for the sake of his own family. My uncle never intervened on my mother's behalf again. In the winter of my sophomore year of college, my mother froze to death in front of Livia's tombstone. My father covered the funeral expenses. At my mother's graveside, I laid out a collection of candy wrappers. These are all the wrappers from coffee-flavored candies. Over the years, my mom gave them to me, and I kept the wrappers after finishing the candies. My mom and Livia didn't like this flavor, so whenever we had assorted candies at home, they would pick out all the others and leave the coffee-flavored ones for me. As a child, I knew these candies were bitter, but I still ate them, one by one. Each time, I would savor the faint hint of sweetness within the bitterness, trying to grasp at the maternal love I so desperately wanted to hold on to. After paying our respects, I fished 2 coffee candies from my pocket, unwrapped them, popped one in my mouth, and tucked the other into Dad's hand. All these years later, I've grown accustomed to that particular flavor. A breeze picked up, sending the candy wrappers dancing and swirling through the air. I linked my arm through Dad's. "Dad, let's go home.